Today is kind of a day where cleaned up, organized, read the manual, uploaded some videos, updated the EIA build log, and also updated a spreadsheet where we keep track of what money we spend on it, and a whole bunch of stuff like that. So didn't videotape much. I did have my neighbor come by, 14-year-old Guillaume, and he's just interested. He's going to school for advanced manufacturing, CAD and all that stuff, and it's kind of mechanically very interested. So did a little project with him, something I've been meaning to do. I knew it wasn't hard, but we put the battery box together, did a great job, taught him how to rivet. We ended up somewhere along the way here, oh yeah, where these go, we ended up using the flush rivets that I like to use now, so you don't have that protruding hump on this side. And that was it. And then afterwards, did the oil cooler, got this thing assembled, also very straightforward. So this is the bigger 13 core or row oil cooler. Made the bracket, made all the spacers for that. And right now, I'm not ready to put the engine mount on yet. I basically trying to get everything mounted and then figure out that insulation piece. I'm gonna cut all the little protruding pieces out and then see how that sets in. One thing that wasn't clear, it's pretty obvious, but it wasn't like written down that I saw, is that you have to replace this bolt, which goes in here and holds the ignition module on the other side. Yeah, so you got spacers, washers, more spacers, and I don't think there actually is a washer on this side. I just put one so it doesn't scratch the aluminum bracket. You have to replace that with a longer one, put that one in, drill it out. All pretty straightforward, no surprises there. I ordered some thin silicone, similar to that, like 1/16 thick. I think I'm gonna put it on this door to seal it off, and I'll probably put some sealant around all of these. Kind of find it funny that people are all worried about sealing this part, just as I was, but then this thing and the whole firewall is perforated and wide open, so if fuel wanted to leak in, this thing's a bit of a sieve. So yeah, I'll address it to the best of the ability. And yeah, that's it for today. Good night. Well, not yet, still got a few hours. So now I'm working on these lower brackets here. I'm kind of amazed. So that 36, yeah, wait, yeah, 36 is a spacer. What is 18? 18 is a thick washer. Okay, so yeah, anyway, that spacer is supposed to be 1/8 of an inch thick, and I cut it, but like, how are you supposed to cut these unless you have a lathe? I mean, you could cut it on a bandsaw, I suppose. This thing's like down at its end, but what I do, and I've mentioned this before, but is definitely a finger saver. I just drill a 1/4 inch hole, perpendicular, make sure it's straight, and then you can kind of sand this so it's true, and then run it through the table saw. But I don't see any other way of doing it. And the other thing I'm confused on is where the two meet. Down here, number 36 is also 1/8 inch. I push my limits there and make that a 1/4 inch because it goes through 2 1/8 inch pieces of aluminum, and we'll see if that backfires. So is that just a long-winded way of making these oversized holes back down to 3/16, these 1/4 inch holes down to 3/16, so putting that spacer in there? I'm not really sure, but maybe there'll be an explanation later. Alright, I got that on, and in preparation of looking what's involved in mounting the engine mount, I decided to get the hardware ready, and kind of disconcerting that the engine's only held on by 4 5/16 bolts. But the bigger issue I have is these need to go from the inside out, but since I already have my floorboards installed, I have a bit of dilemma because this goes right into the corner of the floorboard, and I don't think I can bend it down that much because let's see, even if like it, you know, back here's a solid mount because the tab for the brake pedal is here. So were these things really supposed to get installed before you put the floorboard in? I am confused. And or can you put the nut on the inside? That's kind of what I thought was going to happen because that's how I had the other ones, but the diagram clearly puts the nut on the outside, so any help is appreciated. Alright, now that I stopped cursing, I can start videotaping again. So what I did is I took this up, took that out, and was able to lift the floorboard up enough. I haven't gotten it through yet, but I'm very close and confident I can do it, so bear with me. I win. Derek 1, RANS 0. Alright, I got it through, but I guess worth noting, so this side was tighter. That one I can probably squeeze through by just bending the top down, but I don't want to scratch the floorboard either. This one here, it's a little bit closer. I mean, I also have the insulation in here and all that other stuff, and double-sided tape to hold it down, and yada yada yada. So probably a little, I don't know. Anyway, if you're at that point, you may want to just stick those engine bolts in before. And the score is 2-0. Well, actually 4-0, but those top ones were easy. All right. Now I'm going to bed. Good night. Tonight's plan is to take the things that I mounted off again, and I got to figure out what rivets go into the few remaining holes, and put those in. Then I'm going to take the piece of firewall insulation that I already cut, put it on here, mark all those, stamp them out as need be, and put that back on. I kind of want to be able to service everything without, I don't want to bury anything underneath the firewall insulation, so there will be a good amount of holes stamped out of it so you can get at everything. And yeah, that's what I'm going to do now. I think I got all the holes, punched all these out. The whole set punch is great. This is for the ignition boxes, the eyeballs. These ones I had to cut manually. It looks pretty neat. This one here, I buried the screws. Same with this one, because they're like sealed in permanently. I don't think they ever have to come out. And if they do, you slice it here and pull it back. Yeah, it's not going to go on permanently because I still have to do this sealer all the way around there, and I got to seal a bunch of stuff. But I think I'm going to put the engine mount on to see if it fits and how the whole thing looks like. Yeah, making some progress. Got it all back on. We did not tighten these because I don't want to wear out the nylon part. I did get them all to line up. They weren't the easiest thing. I thought maybe because they put the studs coming this way, you can just slide it on, which you can. No washer here because the ground cable goes there. But kind of a lot of work just to realize that it's all going to come off again. But I put all the access holes for the bolts for the ignition modules, the grommets and the cables for the ignition modules. And here, I was kind of curious how this was going to fit. They put the spacers in there like they said, but I think now that I recall, somewhere it said that you have to shorten one of these, which would make sense. So if you shorten this one, it would move that whole thing over and bring the geometry so it fits. I don't want to force it, but I also don't want it to be too close to that. So I guess the newer frames, someone was saying, had a welded tab on it, which would make this part a little bit easier. But with the bigger oil cooler, maybe it was kind of a change along the way. All right, well, that's going to be today's firewall installation. I got done what I wanted to. I'm tired. Good night. They make you drill the 2-inch hole here and these 1-inch holes, but they give you this one, so you try to use it, you go out of your way to make it line up, and it goes right into the motor mount. Yeah, head scratcher. Oh yeah, that's upside down. Now, good night. Remember how proud I was to put a 1/4-inch spacer in there to make up the hole and they kind of tie together? Well, that just backfired because right here is the part where it says to bolt the remaining mount bracket and then trim off the excess. The only thing I'm a little confused with is if you have the hose clamp this way, the way they say to, I would need this one to be shorter. I gotta read it again. Good night. Never mind, I think I got it. Because this is actually the left-hand one, not this one. It's another day, and I'm a little more alert. So now that I figured out my left and rights, I measured it, put the clamp on there. I didn't record it, but what I found is that hole lines up just where if you make the same roundness, it'll look smooth. It comes in right where that other hole is, or very close to it. So that's where I'm going to cut it. All right, got that done. I used one as a template for the other, and looks like RANS made it. Now I'm taking out this guy here. I've seen some people put some silicone inside there, so I bought this sheet. Doesn't have adhesive on it, but this sheet does. It's also high temperature. It's 1/16. Where is it? So I cut out a little piece that has the same radius as the door. I don't know if you can see inside there. Now I'm going to stick that on there. And the idea is, you know, we go through all this trouble of sealing the firewall, but this is like a gaping hole, more or less, that if something wanted to leak in, it could. So I'm going to put that on here. And I'm also going to take that seam sealer that I was using to seal the firewall and just put it around the rivets and the seams there. Haha, you can't see it. I put the silicone flap on there. That worked perfect. And then, because I have so much time on my hands, I basically taped off everything around there. And I'm going to put that gray seam sealer on that to seal it off. Alright, here we are. It's the next day. And I took all of the green tape off. And the sealant, yeah, it's got a few frizzy edges, but it stayed on there. The store with the silicone closes real nice. I actually adjusted it just a little bit by moving this out and that in. So that actually gives a real airtight seal now. So before, I would close that door, sorry, inside there where my thumb is, and I would put my hand over here, and I would try to blow into this hole, and the thing was just like a sieve. Now, it's actually relatively airtight. I'm not going to do that on camera, but you're going to take my word for it. And today I also took these things, and I sanded them down and painted them with SEM satin black. I put those in there, and right now I'm going to put this back in. Like I said, I painted these black. I think they look better than the white, even though I generally don't like changing colors of things in case they scratch, but this is the SEM paint with a good prep, and that worked out fine. If anybody cares, if you put these in 1/4 inch from the edge, oh well, it's close up there, that seemed to be a perfect fit on both sides. What I did find is this didn't quite contour the way I liked it to the plastic, so it was a little bit high here, a little bit low there, a little bit low there, so I just took the high spot off. So now it's nice and smooth. I'll just leave these click out for now. I think eventually they're gonna get glued in, and I'll probably put something to kind of make sure that you can see the flexibility of the skin, that's tied up against it. Maybe like a piece of wood or something. Probably could use more Clecos, especially on Clecos rivets on the front end, but I'll see if the manual calls for it. I just checked on the parts manual. That doesn't say anything. It just says to do what I did and then put it aside until you're ready to paint it. The sorry, the text manual, that was. The parts manual does say to use some glue here, some silicone, and also the brass washers on the inside. So that's good to know. I got this guy back on, and it's funny, when I tighten these, you know, you have that big silicone, red silicone pad that they give you, but it must have distorted it just enough that it doesn't close as nicely as when it was out. So I think when we put it in final, I might just put a tiny bead of this gray silicone on there and let it settle so there's no tension on it, so it opens and closes nicer again. I know, I'm probably thinking like, that's what you get for messing with stuff. Leave a good thing alone. I think that kind of concludes this firewall section. Kind of at a, I don't know, can't think of anything else to do until I get the ignition boxes back. Gotta bolt those in. There's probably some odds and ends, but also want to do a seal around here. What do they call that? Filleting the thing once all that is on. I gotta reseal the gasculator because I put that on. But I think that will probably conclude this video. I don't know how long it's gonna be, but hopefully it's helpful. Thank you for watching. Bye.